Hello, my name is Rich Howard, owner of Architectural Builder Supply. This video is to bring you a closer look at the Kaba Ilco number 15995 CD-2060. This is a key and knob, key and lever deadbolt cylinder, and this is what it looks like. It is a generic type design or construction where there is a drilled 6-pin cylinder housing, cylinder plug, screw-on style cap that will permit you to add the tail pieces that will get you into a knob or a lever. And the way they do that is because they give you there are 3 tail pieces for knobs or levers. The way they do that is because they give you the prep in 2 different places to place that tailpiece either horizontally or vertically. Horizontal is knob trim. They're always horizontal, but you know, in a lever you lay that cylinder on its side, so now it becomes vertical. But the fact of the matter is it'll be horizontal for a knob lock, and that positioning will be vertical in a cylinder, in a lever cylinder, but as you know, you're going to rotate that cylinder down on its side. But those bird's mouth type preparations are in both orientations, and they give you 3 lengths of these. We'll get to the tail pieces in a moment. The 15995 is a 5-pin cylinder. It is drilled 6. Yes, definitely. I'm confirming that. A 15995 is pinned 5. There are 5 cuts on this key, but it's drilled 6 so that you could pass 6-pin cylinders through it, if you 6-pin key blanks if you wanted to. That is going to be what this is. A 15995 is going to allow you to get into knobs, levers, and deadbolts. It does the deadbolt because it gives you lazy action tail pieces, and again there are 3 lengths. And I'll go over the lengths of each in a moment, but lazy action is what allows these to work in deadbolts. Now the CD is what Corbin says is what Kaba says is the Corbin 59A1 through A2. The 59 series is, and I've read the Corbin Russwin cylinder manual. It's impossible to retain it. It's 100 pages of the history of Corbin, Russwin, and Corbin Russwin. But being able to access the data is what's important. The CD is a 59A1 through A2 classification of what CD means according to Kaba Ilco. When you study the key blanks that come with the lock and you look at the broaching of a Corbin Russwin 59 A1 and A2, you're going to see that this is not, this key blank has to be one or the other, and I believe that this is a 59A1 Keyway on the key blank itself. Okay, but Corbin Russwin says it's a 59A1 through A2, so the only thing that could mean is that this is a multi-section plug, and if you study the multi-section plug on this side of the cylinder, it has a very large broaching to it that is just simply flat. That's going to permit the ward, if you're looking at, and there are links down below that will show this, the warding of a 59A1 and A2 on the bottom portion towards the bottom of the plug. One is the A1 is angled down, the A2 is angled up. Well, this plug is broached completely open, so that means Kaba says it's a CD. It'll take a 59A1 and an A2 blank. The blank that you're getting, I believe, is an A1, so be mindful of that. That if you're going to extend this into an A2 system, you're not getting blanks that are going to work. But your plug is going to take, your cylinder is going to take either one. That I think is the point. This is a Corbin Z-Class head on this key blank. A Z-Class, just to talk about it quickly, the The 59 is a Z-class bitting. Z-class is defined in the Corbin Russwin cylinder manual, and it pertains to the system, how many steps it is, what its depth and spacing chart is, what its effective plug diameter is. All of the dimensional properties that govern Z-class is defined, and this is a member of the Z-class bitting. It could be done in 5, 6, or 7 pin. The 59 series was introduced in 1959. It's not the only time they do that, where they use System 70. Guess what year that was discontinued, or guess what year that was brought in. Notice so a 59 series, and I'm looking at the Corbin Russwin manual, incorporates a 60 keyway. That's a simplex. It's meaning it's on its own altogether, and will not share in the multiplex system of the 59 array, which is handy to have a simplex keyway. Okay. And to delve deeper into the 59 class, the 59 series of bittings, the keyways, or the Z class, you need to go to the Corbin Russwin manual. And I'll put a link below this video to that, so that you can view that. So this is going to give you a composite keyway, meaning it'll take more than one. It will take, of course, the multi-section Corbin Russwin 59A blank if you needed to pass that through. So be mindful of that. Now, let's talk about these cylinders. First of all, it's a screw-on cap design. There's going to be a spring and then a pin down in here, and you depress that pin, it's spring-loaded, unthread your cap, you're in business. Now you're ready to key this lock, you're ready to add your tail pieces. Be mindful, don't lose the pin, and certainly don't lose the spring. These are not pieces that you're just going to find laying about. Their spring is incredibly small. The pin, I can kind of see you making something work, the proper size paper clip, but that spring's brutal. A locksmith, a fella who does locksmithing as his means of making a living, a trick that he would have on his bench that he would apply to the bench, and I'm touching my desk here, a piece of cloth that would lap over onto his lap, so that when pieces would jump, hopefully it would be caught in his lap. So be mindful, you don't want to lose either of those parts. But when you remove that pin, you're just going to depress it because it's spring-loaded. You're going to be able to unthread your cylinder cap, and you're going to install one of your tail pieces. So let's go over the length of the knob lever. And again, when you install these, knobs are, I can't say that they're always horizontal, but I think they're always horizontal. From the shoulder to the tip of the short, it's about 11/16. And that one is this is not logical, RS. Let's just say it stands for short. Then you got an RM, let's call that medium. That's going to be about 7/8. The long is indeed marked RL, and that's going to be about 1 1/16 inches. Now your deadbolts. Why did I say lazy action? Lazy action refers to the fact that this large pie cut will permit you to use it in a deadbolt, because what's different between a deadbolt and a knob or lever? A knob or lever, you put the key in, you turn it, you retract the latch bolt, you open the door, and you take your key out, the latch bolt's sticking out again. That's direct linkage from the action of the key through the cylinder and its tailpiece to the inner workings of the lock. If that was the way a deadbolt would work, that would mean every time you put the key in and throw the deadbolt and then bring it back to vertical to take it out, you just locked it, unlocked it to take the key out. So lazy action permits you to take that tailpiece, rotate it to lock, allow that bolt to stay in the locked position as you rotate it back without moving the deadbolt back to pull the key out. So your lazy action is what that's called. You're going to need, with the lazy action, this filler. Your tailpiece is basically going to go through this. And pretty sure all, the common deadbolts I'm familiar with working with, it's going to look like this. And obviously your pin is going to go through that cutout, and that prep is going to allow that tailpiece to spin on you. And that's what you want, okay? If you're not comfortable doing this, I could not more doggedly recommend that you hire a locksmith. So the lazy action deadbolt style, it's literally, lazy action is a industry technical term. That's what it's called. Length of the short, about 9/16, a little short on that. That is DS. That's where it gets funny. The DL, the L is the medium on this one. About 7/8, pushing 15/16, I guess. The LM is the long one, and that one measures about 1 inch and 13/16. Is it possible you're going to have to cut one of these tail pieces? Yeah, I suppose it is possible. It's unlikely, but you may have to. This little plastic doodad that's here, I called my guy over at Kaba. Great technical fella. He helps me 100% of the time. And he said, you know, we've had some people say that there was a little bit too much play in the cylinder when it got inside the lock, so they created this to be placed as a shim on the back so that it lines up with the orientation of your tailpiece to take up that small amount of space that may exist. I've never found that to be the case, but I could envision that when you get your cylinder into a knob or a lever, because that can play a little bit on you, whereas a deadbolt's generally threaded to the back of the housing, so the cylinder Bible itself, this is the Bible, this portion here, that's literally what it's called. That cannot move at all because it's threaded down. But in a knob or lever, you could move that a little bit depending on putting the key in and moving it back and forward. And that you don't want that because it'll make the action odd. And if your tailpiece is funny in terms of its length, you could have a problem of disengagement. So be mindful that if you get a little shaking in there, take it off, stick this shim on the backside, and then try it again and see how that works. The thickness of the shim is 0.032, so it's a 32nd of an inch. Okay, easy stuff. It's difficult figuring out Corbin, Kaba Ilco Keyways. I keep saying Corbin Russman. Kaba Ilco Keyways only in the sense that it helps to be a student of the universe of locksmithing, because really only that way are you going to kind of have the skill set to determine, okay, and when you study that, and if you are into locksmithing, you study right at the tip of my ring finger that I'm trying to move, this finger, that is a large broaching that would be multi-section, that in this case, you'll see it immediately when you look at it. You'll say, okay, the only way that that can take an A1 or an A2 in a 59 class is so that it is broached completely through. And if you ever are online and have time to spend, try to find a video of broaching cylinder plugs. There is one that I saw recently from a German manufacturer, and it is a fascinating process how they literally take that cylinder plug and run maybe that much of tooling up forcefully through it and to cut that broach right through the brass. It's really fascinating how they do that, completely automated. Now, there is below this video a link to that Corbin Russman cylinder manual, which I only put there because it is germane to the greater conversation. That document cannot be, you can't perform a find function on it, so you'll have to scroll through it. Currently, the manual that's there, the Corbin 59 series keyways are on page 15, so it's interesting to be able to look at that, certainly. The Kaba Ilco page is there that will show you their different keyways. Now, speaking specifically of Kaba Ilco now, when it comes to cylinders, so you can do this cylinder in a couple of dozen different type keyways, different configurations. They're 6-pin combinated style. You can also get into different finishes. Well, you can really only do on the cylinder plugs brass, satin brass, and a satin type chrome. But they can get into rim cylinders, mortise cylinders, obviously the key and knob, deadbolt, lever replacement cylinders. They have a nifty series of their low-profile deadbolts that is based on the mortise cylinder concept, where you can toss all these different keyways of mortise cylinders into this low-profile deadbolt, where you can have a low-profile deadbolt that is going to give you a 2 3/8 and a 2 3/4 back set as a grade 1 lock, but they'll also manufacture a 2-inch back set. Really short profile. The only downside of that deadbolt system is that they don't have a diameter of hole smaller than 1 7/8, so that'll be the smallest hole that you can drill to get this lock to fit in. I'd like for it to fit into 1.5 inches. They don't have that. There's no way to really, I suppose, fit that housing in that the latch bolt has to be installed into, so that your cylinders or your mortise thumb turn or the single cylinder plate with the 2 screws will allow you to install the deadbolt onto. So the catalog that's there is the Kaba Ilco sheet is beneficial because it will give you an idea of all of the different keyways that are available from Kaba Ilco. Finally, there's a link below this video to the manufacturer's page where you can pull up not only all of the Kaba Ilco products that we sell, but also a link to the manufacturer's website, as well as a link to the full product catalog. If you have any questions on the Kaba Ilco 15995, I know that looks like a 6, it's a 5, and a CD and a 2060, and you can do that cylinder face in satin chrome or satin brass. And keyed anyway, we can do that keying for you as well. If you have any questions on any of the stuff, please feel free to reach out to us. And thank you.